Hi everyone. You guys like your burritos? Yeah, pretty good. No, the best part about coming to one of these, you get free food and you get to learn stuff. Okay, so hi, I'm Andrea Haisch. I'm a senior here at UW, and I'm here because I truly do believe in this program, and I also know the importance of understanding your impact within the classroom, being a FIG leader, and because I have a pretty crazy story. So I started my college experience just like a lot of other students. I joined a sorority, I loved Husky football, completely fell in love with UW because what is there not to love here? But I was also really excited to see what my new university had to offer. So I spent a quarter in Paris my sophomore year and a month backpacking Europe by myself. So study abroad, encourage your students to do so as well, but that's not why I'm here. But I came home just in time to apply to be a FIG leader. I got the job. I was stoked because I have plans within education in like a larger view, so I thought this would be a perfect segue to that. But I really loved the experience from day one, aside from Chipotle, of course. The students were excited. There was like this awesome global kind of energy within my FIG. I had these two students from Taiwan who grew up literally blocks away from each other and had never met until they were in my classroom. Loved that part. And I also had some students from other overseas places like London. We had lots of student athletes, like some in track and field, gymnastics, rowing. So lots of really good energy all around. But also from day one, I was 100% honest with them. And I kind of made myself a promise. Actually, I had photos that totally forgot. Husky football, yeah. Joined a sorority. Okay, this is my FIG. Sorry. So I made myself a promise just to give them an opportunity of what it's like to give them a window of opportunity to see what it's like to be a successful upperclassman. Sometimes that's all they kind of really want to know, and your lesson plans doesn't matter what it is. But I also made sure that kind of the window of opportunity that they had wasn't going to be full of any BS. So I spoke candidly about my experiences in Paris and what an opportunity it was to live overseas, but I also made sure I had a lesson plan and some study abroad advisors there to back all my stuff up, because without any of that, you know, doesn't really fall into place. I also spoke openly about how great the geography major was, because at least that was a common ground through it all. And they kind of, you know, had a stepping stone of what to do next and what other things to do immediately after our FIG was done. But most importantly, I just spoke honestly about my college experience so that they knew that this was their home for the next 4 years, and they didn't just make this huge mistake of turning down 4 other great universities, or more sometimes, lots of times. So our quarter together came to a close, and I had even more exciting plans ahead of me. I had committed to being a FIG leader my senior year, so right here I was a junior. But before any of that could start, I had an entire semester in Australia waiting for me. At this point, I was on top of the world. So I spent 6 months in Brisbane, Australia, which is about an hour flight north of Sydney, and just below the Great Barrier Reef. It's a place called Queensland, if you've ever heard of it. And I had the best time. The weather was hot. It was like polar opposite from here, so awesome. I was totally in my element. All the men had like these surfer, like beachy accents. I was like, oh yeah, great choice. London's also pretty good too, I guess. But anyways, about 6 weeks before my scheduled departure to go home, you know, school was kind of dwindling down and exams were approaching. I was kind of realizing that this whole 6-month vacation was coming to a close. But still had some traveling to do, and about at the 6-week mark, I met this top-notch guy, and it took me by surprise. I mean, it was the last 6 weeks. I didn't really have much time to do anything. But we came to the conclusion that things would never work out. And we were from opposite ends of the world. I had to come back to Seattle. I had finished on my senior year, I had to go to grad school, yada yada. He had to do stuff in Australia. So we realized that it wouldn't work. Well, on my very last day in Australia, he decided to book a flight over here. And if you're wondering what happened to that guy, he's right over there. But it gets better, it gets better, it gets better. Or worse, whichever way you put it. So he flew all the way over here a few weeks after I had come back. I was so stoked, I'm like, hey, finally get to hear about Seattle and Washington and our city. It was his first time to the States, so I'm like, you are in for a treat. Well, see what this treat is. We had plans to go to Vegas and California and yada yada yada. We had plans to do it. But to kickstart all that, we decided to go to Eastern Washington, where, what? Yeah, Eastern Washington, where my brother was working as a paramedic. So, he's, really active, doesn't have much money because they don't get paid very much, and so he's found like all these free sports to do over there. So we went rock climbing. I'm thinking like, okay, like I see like on his Instagram, like him rock climbing like way down off the cliff, and I'm like, oh, totally have to do that when I get back. Yeah, well, he was an interesting choice. So we decided to go rock climbing that day. I was in a dress, cute sandals, enjoying the weather. I had no idea that that choice to go rock climbing would change the rest of my life. So we were in this awful accident. Imagine like a big rock wall, and my brother, wait, okay, it's Australia. It's all right. Australia. Angus arrives, yay! Okay, so Kurt, my brother Kurt, was up on the rock wall. I was watching him, so about in this position if he was up there, and all of a sudden we see this huge boulder just start falling down. So Angus and I were there. Angus was belaying. Kurt was up on the wall, my brother, and my mom was just on the other side of the rock wall. So this boulder comes falling down. I start running this way, that way, as it's coming down, and all of a sudden, it lands on the ground, and it just takes me away in this massive rock slide. So imagine like me here, this boulder comes down, I'm trying to run, and I just go boom, off the cliff. So I think, well, either I'm gonna die or I'm gonna be okay. I didn't really think there was gonna be anything else in the middle. Well, I made it, but yeah, woohoo, made it! But it came with a little bit of a price. So this massive boulder here, you can see from the top of my dad's head to his feet was the size of the boulder that dislodged from the wall. And it trapped me all the way up to my leg up here. Still I have scars all the way up to here. And I said, Mom, I'm trapped under a rock and my arm's broken because I could move it, but it was kind of filled with puzzle, weird. So Angus came running down. Angus to the rescue! And he's like, don't look at your left foot. I'm like, okay. Obviously I looked at it. And no good news there, okay? But I figured, like, you look at your body and all my toes are intact and I could move my foot, so everything was gonna be fine, right? Well, wrong. We, finally, after an hour, I was freed from the rock. I was taken to Wenatchee Hospital. And the doctors looked at us and they just said, we can't do anything for you here, you have to go to Harborview. So they airlifted us there that night, and that's my other brother, and he met us there. Also former Husky, also was in a pig. Look how good he turned out. So he met us there, and pretty much what happened was that I'd be, in and out of surgeries a lot. And I just figured, I'd probably have to take a lot of skin grafts and yada, yada, yada. And doctors came into my room and they sat down and I just thought, well, that's kind of weird. No doctors have time to sit down. And with like my whole family around me, I heard the word amputation for the first time. And so there was these two teams of doctors, one that were like, we can totally save it, we don't know how effective it will be, and then there's this other team that were like, no dude, get a prosthetic, life will be changed, yada yada yada. So about, I would say a week, all this was pretty hazy, but a week I was going back and forth thinking if I didn't save it, I would feel like a failure because, I still had a foot and I thought it would work out. But on the other hand, they said that it would take years for me to have just a mediocre foot. And obviously it wasn't easy, but my end, decision was that I've never had a mediocre life and I wasn't willing, to have it start there. So I said, amputate! I didn't say it that easy, I was like, with one less foot. So obviously after months of rehabilitation and getting a leg is where I am now, but this accident was in August and school was just about to start just a month later. So at the very last minute I had to, pull my whatever, pull the trigger, and I had to email Leanne and say, I'm sorry, I just had my leg amputated. Mind you, I was trying to think of like every scenario of me trying to still teach a FIG, like in my wheelchair. Then I'm like, okay, one, I don't want to go anywhere without my foot, and two, I'm on like a million drugs and like am hallucinating every 5 seconds. So I probably wouldn't be the greatest teacher. So I reluctantly had to pull out from being a FIGler at the last minute, but I wanted so badly to have this experience again because I had such a great run through the first time, but I knew it wouldn't be possible. At that point, my biggest challenge was just getting myself back onto campus because my doctor said, you're crazy for going back, you're crazy, yada, yada, yada. And so I obviously, had a huge hurdle in front of me just to get myself walking to class. But it got me thinking about my future plans within education and how I wanted to be a teacher and how the accident would affect teaching in the coming years. And my doctor used to tell me when, I would just be a mess going back to the clinic and back to Harborview, and he would tell me, you're going to be a better person because of this, you're going to be a better mom because of this. Well, someday, not yet, not a mom. But you're going to be a better person because you're going to be a better mom, you're going to be a better teacher because of this, you're going to have a better life because of this. And I obviously thought that he was crazy, who wants a prosthetic in their life and who thinks that it's going to get better after an accident. But, I figured that this would affect my teaching in the coming years. So I have plans to go to grad school to get a master's in teaching and teach elementary school. And it made me realize that maybe I was destined to teach more than just, math and science and reading and writing. And maybe I was, meant to teach people of what it's like to get back on your feet, literally or figuratively, after your world was turned upside down. And, at the elementary level, that's not, bouncing back from an amputation. That's bouncing back from someone stealing your ball at recess. But I figured this would have to connect in some way. So in the FIG program, I think that it's easy. Oh man, pictures. Sorry, this is us in the hospital. That was my brother, sorry, total rewind. My brother who fell down all that way, we were like sure that he was paralyzed, and we thought that like sure he had the worst end of it, but he's fine and walking, and yay to that. And it was just me that had everything. But I made it back at school. This was me learning how to walk with my fabulous physical therapist. So, there's hand up. So, kind of the, take home sometimes is that, it's easy to get wrapped up as like you're the leader and, you're in charge and like, very well understood because we've gone through so much training to do this. But just remember that if you aren't open and honest with your students about your time in college, then they might get a false impression of what to expect. And it's the transparency, within an educator that can make the difference, especially in the FIG program when they're just a few years younger than us. So just be open with your personal experiences, and they'll learn the most through your honesty. So as you plan your lessons, remember the impact that you'll have on them far beyond the 10 weeks in the classroom. And remember that you'll be a role model, and remember that they'll they'll be interested in what it's like to be successful at UW, just as we all are. So remember, you are the key to understanding what world in college is like. So, this is us traveling, but very happy, the invitation went well. But very last take-home thing is have fun with your teaching endeavors, and I really wish you all the best of luck next year.